All right. Sorry about that setup there. I should have unmuted. My bad. We had quite a few situations here, but I think we're ready to get back on the horse. Just going to check to make sure the live stream is going off in the browser here. I know you can't watch me do this. I will do my best to explain the situation. The first thing that I'm going to do is clean up my version control. I'm going to kind of go through Git and make sure that the work I do is scoped properly. The changes that I need to make are definitely outside of the purview of adding this press page. In fact, I'm going to create an issue because I promised Rick, my project manager, that I wouldn't be doing work without documented issues. So I can show you the browser, actually. I just want to make sure the stream's working. Cool, looks like it's working. All right, I see my stream. All right, I'm gonna leave this page. Maybe that'll keep this stream a little cleaner. All right, so let's make a new issue. This is an important aspect of open source work. I've got some new notifications. I'm gonna check them out just in case. Add photos, bio to team page. Yeah, that's fair game. All right. In fact, I already know this was an issue before, so I may try to find it and reopen it. Let's look up section, because that is the problem child in this situation. So I'm going to reopen this. I'm also going to assign myself to this issue and move it to my private little in-progress pipeline. Okay, so the issue we're working on is number 230. Well, let's get going. Okay, there's my terminal. So like I said, I need to do some version control situations. So if I clean this up, I can show you that my Git status shows you that I've got all these changes. The only ones I'm currently on the add press page branch, as you can see. The only changes I want to add here right now are scenes. I want to add everything from press. I also am going to look back on my code editor because I thought I made the correct changes to home.js and footer. And if they're not made, I'm going to make them because I do know those are the correct way of doing things. Interesting that those, oh, because I already pushed those changes actually. So I already pushed those changes to the branch. So I think we should be good to go here. I can close these windows out. I'm gonna switch to my terminal. I think you guys can see that. Yeah, okay. So let's do another git status because I have the memory span of a goldfish. All right. I'm gonna commit these changes. Always do git messages in present case, or present tense rather. I can do git push. Sometimes when you're on a repository, you'd have to do git push -u, and then that would be upstream and you push the origin. But I've already done so, so my origin is fetched and is pretty recent. Okay, so as you can see, I've still got some stuff going down there. By the way, if you saw me type C, C is just an alias for clear, just so you know my layout. Okay, so yeah, so let's do git stash. Git stash kind of creates this like local little pocket of changes that I've made, and I can actually pop them. I can do git pop on any branch. So now if you see, it looks like everything's clean over here. So now I can go to master, and I can do git checkout, make a new branch. My terminal is going very slowly. I wonder why this is. I'm gonna kill the development server. Maybe that'll speed things up. Oh boy. Computer's going very slow. I just closed that tab out. I don't know why things are dying left and right. My computer can barely keep up, I guess. Alright, so let's get back into that folder. Now let's check out master. And let's make a new branch. All right. Now we're in the right spot, and I can do git pop, I believe, git stash pop. I might have to look this command up, but there we go. Sweet. All right, so now if we do git status, you'll see that I've got all those changes that I had initially made, and now I can take you back to my code editor. And let's get working on the changes. So the problem that was in play is that I had assumed that the section component was fixed to the fullest extent back on the web dev issue. Back on the repository issue that I had just like examined. I wonder if I can. Okay. I actually had quite a tidbit that I wrote on this because I foresaw this being a problem, which is that our section component, which is very heavily utilized, had style sheet problems where things were rendering like way past where they should have been, and it caused problems on mobile. And I suggested some ideas, and I recommended that this content be added. And you know what? I actually think all the ideas that I had were implemented, but I now realize that there are some more to add. So this component, or this issue rather, was finished properly to the extent of which I was describing the issues, but there are some more that I found out. So I kind of want to walk through the ones that I found. How I debugged this issue, by the way, if you've been with us in the beginning, thanks with Seth for hanging out with me for a while I thought through this. What I tried doing is adding components that already worked to the press page, which is not here because I'm on a different branch that doesn't actually have press. So I tried adding all these different components to see which ones rendered properly, and it seemed like every single one was rendering properly. And what I noticed is that the reason that is because either there was enough content to span the width of the page forcibly, or in the case of the contact page, which I can show you, in the CSS, there is a wrapper that sets width to 100%. And this is key, because what I was realizing is the section component was set to width 100%, but the div parent component of every React component, every React component has a div inside of its render, right? And then you render everything within that div. But everyone didn't have style sheets. So either components were rendering properly because they had enough content to span the width, or they had this kind of thing going down, which is pretty hacky. We don't want to have to add a wrapper to every single component. Instead, and this is a good way to test now, I'm going to go ahead and start the development server up because we all know how long that takes now with this streaming setup. I'm opening a new terminal tab. Again, I did Command-Shift-T, and I have that preference set up to open a new tab with the exact same file path. So now what I want to do is yarn start. I can leave that while that's getting set up because we know how long that takes. Go back to my code editor. And as you saw, I removed that wrap class. I'm going to go ahead and come in here and remove this style as well. And once the development server kicks off the ground, oh, it's up and ready to go, it looks like. Oh, I think it's just grabbing a cached result, actually. But what we should see anyways, I can show you the page. I'm going to do a save. And now what we should deal with is we should be seeing the same kind of problem that we saw. It looks like the development server, like I said, the development server is cached. So it's showing like an old result, but the development server is actually still kicking off. So I might have to come back to this and I'll do some changes while it's loading up. But once this does load up correctly, we should see the same problem on this contact page that we saw on the press page, because it doesn't have enough content to span the width. There is no forcibly sized components. Like on code schools, there are cards, that width and height are set by a hard number, so the parent component kind of matches the width that's demanded of its child components. We don't have that situation occurring on the contact page, nor did we have it on the press page, which is why we had the content kind of wrapping up all the way up to here in a situation where there's not much content added. So, gosh, it seems like it's so close, but yeah, I'm just going to come back to the editor. Sorry when my windows kind of pop up. I like to just make sure that every time I switch windows with my hotkeys, I'm kind of fumbling around with them. I don't want to leave you guys hanging with looking at the wrong window, so I check my OCB to make sure that the window is showing properly. Okay. Development server still going. So yeah, the changes I made again, I got rid of that wrapper, so I want to implement it elsewhere. And I won't save it because I want to show you guys that the contact page indeed did break. But what I need to do now is I need to go to home.css, which is basically our global style sheet file. And what I want to have occur, and I've actually already made the change, this does not exist here, and you can tell that on VS Code because it shows you an added change. So actually, it might actually render properly since I've already instantiated this situation, but if I get rid of it, we should see the issue that I was talking about as soon as the development server loads, and it's still somehow crazily loading. Oh, yes, sick. We're done, finally. Okay, maybe. Okay, sweet. We're loaded. If I got a contact, the page should be broken. And sure enough, it's broken. Yes. So let's go to the code editor. That's what we wanted. Now we're going to add 100% because what's happening now, once I add 100% to here, and I actually don't know if there's a necessity for these two classes, but I don't want to get into that right now. What's happening as soon as I save this is my development server is recompiling the situation, and I will show you where with the 100% is going to get added. And Seth kind of clued me into this when he said that hey, what's going on here? That's awkward. I had it working before. I will get it working. Let's see. I want to see, I'm looking in my terminal right now to see if there's changes that I made that could be preventing this from rendering properly. It looks like I made actually a lot of changes to contact. Or not a lot of changes, but... Oh. Yeah. home.css. Did I make any other changes to home.css? It looks like that's the only fix I made. Okay, I'm gonna refresh, but that won't likely solve the problem. I did have this working before. I know that we're in the right place. What if I try moving this up to the home section? Will that give us a winner? Does not. All right, I think it's time to get back into the inspector and see if we can figure this situation out. So here's the style sheets that I'm changing. So we actually don't want to move with the 100% in the home thing. Hey, that is interesting. We should definitely be seeing... Oh, I'm looking at the wrong one. Okay, yeah, we do have a width 100%. Okay, so if I move this down to main again in my code editor, so just to show you guys, I moved width back down to here. I'm going to over it actually right here. Let's go back to the browser. I'm going to probably have to investigate in the internals right here. Let's see. So we've got this. Oh, right. I just haven't added the real situation yet. So right here, this div, we want style to, this is what's going to fix it. Boom. Okay, cool. So what that means is actually in the section.css is where I have to make the change. Or not section.css. It's still in home.js, but what we need to have happen, where is styles? Let's move this all the way down. I'm going to reorganize this at some point. The router and me and Seth talked about has a lot of stuff going down that could be broken apart even more. So inside home.css, let's see how this works out. So the render and the return right here. So this div is what we want to touch. Style this.bg image. Class name classes. Classes is right here. So .home. Styles.home. Oh my gosh, excuse me. We want .main. I don't know why I was saying that. Interesting. So I think the way that we can best affect this situation, since we know that people should be calling divs in every component, and we also know that, looks like this div always appears right before this main class. If we go back to the code editor, what I want to do, I actually might have to look up this CSS selector. But I want to select the first div. So I think this will work. Yeah, this should work just fine. We could do like first child or whatever, but what this means is apply styles to every div whose parent class is main. And as we saw, if I slide back over to the browser, let me just make sure that's good. Yeah, if I slide back over the browser, as we can see and understand in React, only one div is going to ever be in the instance of a component. So there should only ever be one div pointing to the main class. So that should work just fine. And there's no performance issues with that CSS selector. So let's go ahead and move forward on this. We don't actually need width in here. We need it here. This should fix our situation, and if it doesn't, then I'll probably just stick 100% within the main class and call it a day. How do I switch the browser? It should be 2. Sweet. Okay, I'm going to stop checking on it. I think I have a full grasp on the hotkeys, but boom, we got it. So now what we need to do is kind of comb the page to make sure we didn't instantiate any bugs with that situation. One thing that I may do off the stream is pull it up on my phone. The cool thing about, and I can show you this, the cool thing about the little node backend that we have on React is that it actually creates an instance on my network. So on my local device, because of my Wi-Fi, I can go to this URL and load up the website on my phone. Good way to test it if you don't have like browser stack or anything like that. And I think going forward, the front-end team agreed to design mobile first to make sure that the phone always works before we move on past the page, because we're kind of tired of going back into pages and fixing things after the fact. So let's do a quick scan of the actual web page. I'm going to look at it full view, and then I'm going to make it a little smaller, and then I'm going to make it minimum to size, and then I'm going to check it on my phone as fast as possible. So, Seth, will you do me a favor and make an issue? Make an issue about the clip path image components having weird extra spaces. Because this should look like this. Okay, thanks. Assuming he's listening. If he's not, that's fine, I'll remember. Okay, so no issues here. Let's go ahead and explore all the footer links. Frequently asked questions. Looks like it's working fine. Let's go to team. Team looks good. Let's go to contact. As we know, contact looks good. Privacy actually opens a new window, so we don't need to click privacy. Code schools. This is a situation that is actually internal just to code schools. It has nothing to do with the change that we made. It's a change that needs to happen at some point, but basically each one of these has a new line character. But I don't know if that's the best way to show that paragraph, so we can go in there at some point later. Looks like everything's working. Login, join, all works fine. Okay, so let's go ahead and condense this to something smaller. Let's just look like right here. Any issues? Nothing so far. Nothing so far. If you just saw this, by the way, this is actually already an issue that the anchor elements don't actually render in these components properly. Contact. Looks like everything's working just fine. Let's make it as small as possible. Looking good to me. Still looking good. Still looking good. Let's start the landing page. Still no issues, which is good. Sweet. I'm going to look at my phone very, very quickly. I'll try to be as fast as possible. I'm going to put my fancy little be right back thing. All right. Looks good to me. I'd say the change that we made is mobile ready. So I'd actually like to continue gutting some things, exploring the internals of this We need some bad elevator music. That's funny. I prefer just dead silence just to keep you guys bored. Okay. So yeah, I was looking at the internals in this massive, annoying situation. And I realized there's some more changes to be made to the section component, which is why we, reopened this thing. So let's go ahead and close home. I think that's all the changes we want to make there, but could be wrong. Hope not. Let's leave that there. Also need to add an issue to refactor the home page if you get the chance as well, Seth. You could leave it honestly as refactor the home page, and I can fill in some details there later. Okay, so we want to. I'll keep contact open. I don't want this intro paragraph thing actually anymore, because that shouldn't have to be there. Because ideally, the section component's contents render only 90% of the width, so we won't need padding. Or at least that's the hope. So I'm going to go back and look at the browser. I did a save, so my hot reload automatically refreshed. Let's go to the contact page. Looks good. Sweet. Okay, let's go to the section component. Okay, so section.css, section.jss. So what's going to need to happen is I'm going to make some changes that I think are going to be best. Then I'm going to need to go into every single component because this isn't an IDE and I don't want to try to break open WebStorm right now. But I don't have an easy way to guarantee a clean refactor. And frankly, at this point, I'd rather check things up with my own eyes. So we're going to find every instantiation of section and make sure that props that we don't want aren't called. And we're also going to make sure that props that we do want are correctly called. And we also want to make sure that style sheets aren't being applied to section children content. That way we'll have a maintainable component here and we won't be using it improperly, and we can make sure that we have some consistency, if anything else, consistency to our bugs. Okay, I don't want this other props. I agree. Seth was pointing it out to me that sounds like a bad idea, and I think it is too. I don't know why we would want people to have this idea that they could just kind of throw in a prop whenever they want to. I think in a large-scale project, we should be as opinionated as possible about our component usage and try to let the user know whenever they're using it incorrectly. The one thing I did notice is if we go back to the landing page, I tried making some changes on a different branch thinking it would be a quick fix. But then I realized that this section has an image as its background. And that's why they had other props. I think we can do better. I think what we should do is we should do like an image. And we can have a default prop to be null, so that if somebody wants to have a section like this where there's a background image, we kind of prepare that situation for them. So let's go back in and kind of set that up. I also don't know if there's a need for an ID, but I don't want to break too much right now, so I'm going to try and scope this because I do want to get that press page done today. But this section change needs to happen like ASAP Rocky, so I'm going to make it happen. So first things first, let's think of a name for this. Let's just call it background image. Or better yet, let's call it section image. Or section, yeah, I'll say it. Section background image, fine. Class name, okay. So, when is this used? Actually, before I get into adding that background image situation, I want to get the things that I don't want to be used. So the section div has this thing called classes, and I'm going to split this view in half. Okay, so the section component has classes. Where is classes referenced? Any other location? I'm gonna move this down. Class names. Oh, classes is declared right here. I think we can do better than this. Again, this is a situation where I think we're kind of calling a React component in a different way. But I'm going to leave it as is for now. But the one thing I know that we don't need is this. And I don't think we need this. Nor do we need this. Theme. This is a good question. We only want two options, and that's white and gray. So these are our two theme options, which is the background color. Okay, so class names is going to be styles dot section. And we should be able to pass multiple, I believe. I think I'm going to take this moment to look up CSS modules and see if people can pass multiple components. Actually, there should be. Can we just pass an array? Let's try. Let's break this stuff. Okay, what if I just wanted to force every section to be white? And then content, styles.content, we're good there. Cool, let's try this. Made the save. We might get some errors. Let's find out. Oh, crap. Oh, I accidentally closed the development server. Not before it spit out some errors, though, so that's good. But in my terminal really quick, I'm going to run yarn start, since we know how long that's going to take. Christ. Theme is assigned a value, but never used. The class name prop type is defined, but never used. Okay, so these are errors that we may be able to just solve on our own. I'm going to go back to the code editor. Let's get rid of these. Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of these. See that? Yeah, no, we can do this actually. Because themes default. Yeah. Well, let's see if we can implement themes. We should probably be instituting a ternary operator to where if the user says gray, I'm kind of looking at Slack to see what happened in those projects. Okay. I'm going to look at some other examples. There were a lot of really well-designed components in this project, and I'm doing my best to kind of learn from the masters. So anytime that I have a situation, I just want to make sure I'm in the right window. I am. Anytime I have a situation, I do my best to kind of go look at some other components that work really well. Landing might have what we need. I'm looking for an example where class name is either passed multiple things or classes are conditionally rendered. So I'm kind of just going to fly through here looking for examples. In fact, I don't think I'm going to find it there. What about code schools? Header. What? I don't know what you mean by header stuff. Oh, you want to look at header as an example. Thank you. Well, I don't want to do it that way. But, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and undo the changes that I had here. Let's bring it back to being fresh. Okay, I don't want other props for sure. I also don't want somebody to be able to pass their own style sheets. Let's get rid of class name. Let's get rid of class name. And let's get rid of this. This may be enough. Yeah, that was a fair shout out. Thank you. It's probably best that we try not to reinvent the wheel here, since it's already implemented well enough. I'm going to go ahead and make the save now and see what happens on the development server, which has just kind of gotten brought up. What else could potentially happen here? Okay, so we have successfully broken this. What I think I want to do, let's try it this way. Let's do styles.background image. And then true. Okay, and that's fine that it's set to true since we're going to have default props of background image be null. And I also am going to just move this down here in order, and I'm also going to fix... Why are you doing this to me? What's going on here? Oh, I shouldn't have used a parenthesis on the left. My bad. Oh, and I forgot a comma. And I said style instead of style. Okay, we're good to go. Why are you rendered differently, though? Oh, is it because background image doesn't exist? That could be it. Now, here's the fun part that I actually don't know about. We are going to need to pass... How do we pass variables to our CSS and CSS modules? That's going to be an interesting one. We might have to do this in line. I might have to do some Googling. I don't think I have not seen an example. I know how to do this in Vue.js, but I've never seen an example on our project, at least for React, on how to conditionally render a background image URL. But the idea is we're going to have to do some kind of internal background URL In fact, I think we could probably just, I don't think we need this. Let me try to think about this before I do any research. I think I can remove this. I'm going to comment it out for now, though. And I think I could do... doesn't seem to be working exactly. Yeah, Seth, go ahead and I'm going to go to chat really quick. Sending me a bunch of random images. I'm going to quickly go to the browser and you can see my process and kind of looking this up. This is exactly what I want. If I do let's try this. I don't need a background placeholder. I'm trying to use background image in CSS because we can't just slap an image within the div because that would break all the contents. But background image means that instead of showing a background color, the background image will take over, which it's the section component's being used in that way. So I think that's what I want to do. And on Stack Overflow, it seems like we've got some good. Oh, I wasn't even showing you that. I'm sorry. So looking at this URL, I found exactly the kind of question that I was asking, and it looks like here's an opportunity to do this, which is kind of what I was shooting for. So if I, maybe if I do, I feel like I don't need to do that actually. Let's go ahead and get just like a forcible usage of a background image. Let's say, I'm pretty sure it's single quotes with a URL, and I'm going to pass it just some kind of image. Okay, URL.path image. We're not, yeah, I'm not going to try to bring in like a local path. I'm just going to use a URL for now, because then I have to do an import to get that path to the component. So I've got an image. I'm going to go to my code editor really quick so you can see what I do there. I think this is all I need to do. Now I want to see if all of my section components render with a flower in the background. I feel like I'm going to get an error because it wouldn't work out this nicely for me in life, obviously. Oh. Okay. What do we got in the console? JS24. Oh, okay, so it can't read. Oh. I should. So styles isn't working because it's treating it like a. Why would it be treating it like a prop type? Style must be an object. Okay. Well, what if we? So I can't just pass like a direct style, it looks like, because it wants me to make it like an object. But I think I was at the same point that you were, Seth. Yeah. So I can't just like throw that prop in there. What if I just do... What's this? Unexpected token. Yeah, it doesn't like me using multiple things here. I think I'm going to have to look up multiple usages of CSS modules. Where am I right now? Am I in the coder or the browser? Coder, okay. CSS modules React, multiple classes. It was a common search. 2015. I'm scared. That's old. That's ancient. But we're going to do it. I am very apologetic about the performance of my computer and internet. I hope at least you're able to see things cleanly. Oh boy. Let's navigate this. Okay. Oh, cool. Okay. Cool. Let's do that. Sick. This is 2015, so I feel like I'm going to keep scrolling because I feel like it potentially has been implemented in a better way. I like... I want to try this guy's way, and I can kind of force it to see if it works. And you know what? That would make sense, right? Because that's how we're kind of passing things in our code. As you can see right here, it's the same kind of style as that browser had it. So let's try class names. Okay, I'm gonna go back to the browser. I keep thinking ahead to what potential issues we might have. I think I just need to search up React background image prop. See if people have used a background image URL as a prop. I just changed, I'm gonna go back to the code editor. I just changed this to URL. I don't want to have any kind of naming confusions. I also need to declare here. Interesting that it says this isn't being used. Because I am using it. Okay, let's try. Okay, I see why it's not being used. This is just kind of going to decide to render a CSS component, but that still doesn't handle how we pass information there. I think instead, I wonder if I can pass something like just straight up CSS. I need to somehow mix inline CSS because I need to pass data within the component to the CSS because I can't get a variable off to our CSS file. I'm going to go back to looking at the browser and continue researching this. This might not be what I want, but I'm looking it up anyways. let's see how this was accomplished for. I'm going to undo everything, the work that I've done before. I'm going to go back to the code editor. Can't quite think of the, oh. Seth, what? I don't know what that's supposed to be. Oh. Other props. What is other props supposed to be here? Well, if I go back to looking at, I'm going to go back to looking at landing. Because I want to see the usage, how they create. It's actually in shared and it's under donate. So if I look at donate, I'm going to wake up both the CSS and HTML. So here's the donate component. Donate section. Here's where they pass the URL. Class name. Seth, Seth asked what the issue is, and so basically, like, they have this creation of a section component where they're passing class name because that's listed as a prop. I'd prefer that people not be able to pass styles to the section so that they don't break stuff. So I'm hoping that there's instead a way to say, like, image URL equals, and then they pass, like, a URL, and then we can render the section's background image URL for them. But I'm not familiar with how to both conditionally render this and also deal with this with CSS modules. So there's a lot of new ground that I'm trying to cover here. But essentially, I'd like to be able to just cut these two things out to improve the usability of our section. And then for this implementation, it would be like background image equals, and then there'd be like a URL, which would be this URL, and it could get passed to this CSS attribute. But I want that to happen on the section level. I'm just not sure how to implement that because I can't pass data to here, so it has to be an inline style, but we haven't been doing inline styles, so now I'm trying to think of how to mix and match CSS modules with inline styles. Seth just linked me to Embedly. I'm already immediately hesitant because I don't know about bringing a dependency in to solve this problem. I think we can do it, I just don't know the syntax, so I just might need to look up stuff. Yeah, I don't know what this is, but I feel like We don't need to bring it in. This is such a horrible website. What is your product? Tell me what your product is. Yeah, I don't think we need to bring this in. It's definitely don't want to add a dependency if we don't need to, because that's just going to slow down our website even more. But we don't need that. It's simply a syntax thing. I'm just not a JavaScript guru. There is a way to solve this. I know it, though. I'm going to go back to the browser, and I'm going to Google license. Kind of already have that set up. Let's go ahead and look at these links. I need some context, Seth. Describe more clearly what you're trying to say. Look at my browser right now. I actually don't get this. This is not a CSS. This is not a CSS attribute. So if you where's styles? CS. Oh, they're just not even showing styles. They're just hoping you assume what it is. Oh, it's CSS.js. That would make sense. That's not actually how CSS modules works anymore, but oh no, they haven't even gotten to that. They're just showing why this is gross. That's fair. That is gross. That goes inside export default. I wonder if we can just set CSS by JSX. It's its own file. Let's keep reading here. Rick, what do you mean by dead air? I'm looking at the link that you sent, Seth. I mean, obviously you can see that. Yeah, we already, okay, this is some usage, okay. We don't want this to be in Webpack. That's not what we need here. Where is this? Oh my goodness, this is a long page. Okay, here's some usage. Custom component with the prop passed. No style sheets there. This.props.title. Title, that's, yeah, sure. I'm gonna look at their final result. What are they trying to get to? Because they're showing me all these weird things. Okay, so they've got this red style. Okay, import from styles. Cool. Button.red. Yes, cool. This time. What I need to do is declare a CSS class inside this JS file so that I can dynamically choose to either have a null background image or, you know, the URL that's passed as a prop. Because the idea is you can either, you know, call a component like these. Let's just imagine this is gone. I don't even know if you can, yeah. So, and then once that's passed, you know, it would choose to render. Or, you know, our default is to have background image URL to null, so you could do this, and then background image URL would be set like this. Oh my gosh. Like that, and so nothing would affect the background color. And so that's fine. And even if that was causing a problem, that even if we did this inside the background image CSS attribute, if that caused a problem for some reason, then we should be able to use a ternary operator to conditionally even select that style class or not, that CSS class. Don't. Sorry about the dead air, Rick. Do my best to keep talking here. I don't think I'm overcomplicating things. I definitely don't want to bring in Webpack to this situation. I definitely don't want to bring in Bedly. And I haven't run into any errors. This is literally just, I just don't know how to implement this, but I know it's possible. I just need to figure out how, because I mean, it would be best if I saw like an example of a usage, which I appreciate you providing me this link. An example of a usage of either using both CSS modules and inline style sheets, or using, you know, maybe they use JSX inline styles plus CSS modules, or maybe there's a way to conditionally or render CSS modules using data. Okay, I'm gonna keep looking at examples. Oh, I was just looking at that. So here's an example. This guy loves modular CSS, and so should I. I do. So let's see what he's got to say. My notifications.styles. So, ooh, he does set it in line. Maybe I can do that. I don't want you anymore. I don't want you anymore. I just removed class names from this section component, since you can't see my screen. I'm seeing all these red squiggles and it's making me stressed out. Oh. All right. Yeah, I actually do want to bring in Polymer eventually. No, I want to bring in Polyfill. Okay, I think we're just having a misunderstanding of the use case here, Seth. The ideal way is like if I could somehow like create a variable in this CSS file, and I'll switch over to my code. If I could create like a variable, and then I could do background image, and then background image URL, and then variable would be in there, but I can't. But what you can do with React is you can typically declare styles in line. Shadow DOM templating. I don't get what your point is. You're just saying buzzwords. If I don't get your point, you need to explain your point to me, good sir. Click the link. This shows me CSS mixins. You want me to read this whole web page and try to decipher your points? I clicked the link. I'm here. I will show you that I'm looking. But this link doesn't show me anything. Like, I don't get what you're trying to show me. But this uses Polymer and mixins. We don't have access to that because we're just using CSS. We're not using any kind of preprocessor. So we can't use mixins. So I don't think the examples on this page would help us. This is also looks like, is Polymer a front-end framework? Well, yeah, our Webpack has the ability to parse processors, but DOM API, dude. I just do not know. Okay, so apparently Polymer is native to apparently these examples are native to the browser. So and that's app show. If anybody's watching this stream and not part of Operation Code, I'm receiving some feedback from Seth, who's a staff member here and a really good developer, and he's doing his best to explain things to me. He's trying to solve my problem. I think he's trying to show me that I can create variables in CSS. And there's also an audio delay, so now that I've said that, I'm kind of hoping that he'll have heard me and tell me yes or no. Right? Meow. Um, I'm going to look into some of the situations while I try to describe. But I think I'm going down the right path, honestly. I think I was doing the right things here. Oh, boom. I think I just found a way to do this. Let's see. Okay, you can only return one thing, so what if I do... Okay. You're looking at the browser right now. I need to figure out... Oh, the code doesn't work. Okay, never mind. That's not going to help. Does this code work? Okay, he doesn't mention that it doesn't work, so I'm going to hope it works. So under the render function, I want to create kind of a background image situation. What else could be here? Okay, so if anybody's tuning in late, we're editing the section component because it's causing problems still, and I need to fix that before I go on making any more pages. The press page shouldn't take too long, and I'm not too worried about accomplishing that before the day is done. But what I'm working on right now is trying to conditionally render a background image on a section component. The section component is something we utilize quite often on the operation code front end. This is the section component. It consists of a header plus content and a background. It's broken right now because I've been fudging with it, but these two components utilize background images in a certain way of doing things. But the way that they do things, the way that they implemented it was opening up the section component to have custom styles. I'd like for that to be blocked off. I don't want people adding custom styles to section components. I think that's a bad idea, and it's yielded some hacky code going forward, in the past rather. So going forward, I'd like it so that it's a prop, so that if you create a section and you decide that you want it to be a background image, that you just pass a URL to an image, either internally or locally, and background-image CSS attribute will render that properly, given that you pass the prop. And if you don't pass it, the default will be null, and therefore it renders like this, where it's just a color, gray or white. And I don't, even though I think, like, you know, I was kind of talking about CSS variable passing, but I think React is built for this case. I've just never, I think React can easily handle this situation. I just haven't gone into this kind of situation before, so it's new ground, and I'm excited to learn how, but I'm fairly certain we should be able to implement this within the JavaScript file. It's just a matter of figuring out how to get inline and CSS modules, inline styles and CSS modules to work in conjunction with each other. I'm going to bring it back to the code editor and see if I can try some things here. I want to go to the donate, and I want to say, I've already gotten rid of, I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to create this, keep this URL, close this out, save it, and I'm going to say background image URL equals that. We'll just pass that. I should have a bug now, and I don't want that. In fact, I'm going ahead and editing this because I feel like a lot of components were created with like an older style of doing things. So I've updated the syntax here. This is how we've been making most of our components and our pages. So I've made all the changes that I want to the donate. The donation component, the shared donation component. We don't need prop types anymore, and boom. We've simplified this component a little bit now. I'm going to close that out. Now I'm going to go to, I don't need contact open, and I don't need the CSS open for donate. I just want to make sure you're still looking at my code. Cool. And Seth, I saw your line where you said if you don't want CSS to interfere with your components, you should use styled components. And I don't think that CSS is getting away of my components. I think my lack of React experience and JavaScript experience is getting in the way of making this work out well. But I've actually talked to a lot of React developers about CSS with this project, and a lot of people do like styled modules. I know that library just by the little nail emoji, but the choice to go with CSS modules I think was the right one, and I know that we can accomplish this. And I don't think it's going to be like some hacky thing. I don't think you or I have ever done this kind of situation before. But there is a way to dynamically render background image on this component, and we're going to figure it out. And we're going to do it the right way. And even if it takes a while, then at least this is going to work out well for everybody using it. So, so I'm kind of looking at a browser. I'm going to take a whack at an idea. So, you know, also at this moment, I'm going to go ahead and do something scary here. I'm going to say class section extends component. I'm going to get rid of these. Before I get rid of that, I'm going to open a component that I know uses props with this updated syntax. Cool, constructor props. That's what I want. Don't want any state. Let's go ahead and bring this up. Cool, that's working out. Let's bring this up. I'm getting this section component, and it feels really good. Okay, where are we at? This looks good. That looks better. What's this syntax error here? Let's try. In fact, I'm going to go back and look at different one that's not code skills. I'm looking at one of the inner ones because I think there's even a different way to choose props. Why does this keep scrolling down? I don't like that. Oh, you know what? I like that way better. I don't even need to declare props. It just comes from the constructor of prop types. Cool. Yeah, sick. Perfect. Now we don't have as much lines of code. What is this classes? Did I just get rid of that in here? No. I think it's just the syntax style. If I go back and look at this, let's see. Oh, if maybe there needs to be no semicolon there. Maybe that could be it. Close but no cigar. Where is this class names used? I don't see it being used anywhere, actually. Right here? What is class names? I'm going to experiment with this. So I'm running into some syntax errors. I think I'm just going to open up a few examples of this working new syntax, because one thing is becoming clear as I look for examples. The way that this component was rendered, it uses some older syntax. So I'm hoping that I can get that to work. It looks like things are declared in the render function. Oh, that would be probably why I'm having issues here. So let's do the render function now. That'll probably do it. And this also, I mean, I feel like that's it, because this also felt like it wasn't indented enough. Got a few more errors, and that's fine. Oh, you know what? I'm going to back up here. Return this to what that const that it was, because I bet you that was valid. And then let's do the render. And I'm going to move these up. Okay. Got some more errors now. Components not defined. Oh, that's good. We should see that. Components not defined. Constructor. Useless constructor. Hey, you're useless. Theme is not defined. Hey, yeah, it is. All right, let's see the difference here. Prop types from prop types. I've got that. Files. Class names. I don't like this. But we're using it, so I'm going to move that down, actually. Wait, oh, I guess we need it up. It must be some kind of module. Or maybe it's a React. Seth, you said that it's a simple component that can't mess with your app. Did you mean the code that I'm working on, or the code that you just posted to form.html? Because I think you must be thinking of a different framework, because I don't think that would work in React. Okay, let's go ahead and check this out. State up props. Okay, wait. Don't want that. Ooh, I think I got this. Okay, I'm going to try and clean this up a little bit because it's pretty ugly at this point. What's going on here? And heading. If I save that, gets rid of the trailing spaces, valid syntax, cool. Content, cool. A little cleaner. Let's see what kind of errors we're getting, because there's no way we're not getting errors. Okay, I'm going to look at the browser now. Unnecessary semicolon line 30. Okay, I've removed that semicolon. It was just at the end of the class. Line 40, not used. Okay, cool. These are good errors. Nothing crazy, which I'm surprised with. Let's return. And this is the semicolon I moved right there. We're not using background image. Makes sense. How can we use that? Now I'm going to go back to the browser and start investigating some more. Because I think we were just talking about this. I've got an example here, and so what I was thinking of doing is making a variable like this. Call site customization. What does this do? So he's got this style sheet file right here with button and disabled button. What I'm looking, yeah, I just export default. So it seems, so this is CSS.js. So I feel I really need to find out like a resource of examples of CSS and JS. Like, with CSS passing styles and parents, merging objects together. So there's a JSX file, prop types, the render function, buttons.style. Style equals, rather. Object.assign styles button. This.props.style. Concatenating names together. Okay, that's kind of what happened with our class names. I don't mean to have so much style over the airways, but I've got nothing to report here. I just need to do a little bit of research, it seems like. Hey, look, there's what Seth was talking about. Well, maybe we can do this. But it looks like the imports and the exports themselves are happening simply on other style sheet attributes. I want to know if we can pass like a string from the JS file. I don't see an option of that happening though. Oh, look at this, look at this. Just what we want. Sharing variables in JS and CSS. Oh goody, they know what we want. Okay, I'm gonna read this whole thing. Feel free to read along with me. No. No. Damn it. Huh. Can we mix them though? That is what I would like to know. Mm. Let's do, I just want to know where this gets called. I think it's called within the render function. Let's kind of take a whack at this. I'm going to do inside the render function, we're going to do var background image equals, so this is for HTML elements. Can you set a class? So on that browser, this guy just had button. So I'm thinking that this, at this point in writing, declaring this variable, I think this is where an element needs to go. But I want to. I don't think this is gonna work. But I want to try. What should I do here? I should do. Class names. What is our section? Section? Let's try section. Dot section. Oh, shoot. That's not working out. I'm checking out the OC part. shoot, guys and gals. Okay, I'm going to check out the browser some more still. I think you guys should be able to see that. Boy. Cool. Oh boy. Yes, you can see it. Using CSS modules. Shoot. Ended up proving fruitless. Just talk about CSS modules or just modularize? What is this? Oh, this is 2015. I feel like this is too old to look at. I'm going to have some issues. What do I have a notification for? Oh, interesting. Well, still having the same problem. We need to find out. We're using CSS modules in a React project, and we need to find out how to dynamically and in a data-driven manner provide a background image to a component if passed as a prop. And if not, don't make a background image. I don't want this page. Let me try another one. Background image CSS modules prop. Just throwing some buzzwords in there. Oh, look. Looks like we can mix. Okay. Looks like we're going to be able to mix styled components in CSS modules, if that interests you, Seth. This could be the solution, is just use both. This.props.danger. What's going on here? Okay. I see how that's being done. Okay. Class names. Yeah, we might have to bring in styled components for this one. I don't see a much better way to handle the situation. I haven't seen any resources on CSS modules on dynamically passing variables. Let me see if it's easily accomplishable here. So it looks like with import style from styled components, it looks like you can just set consts. How does this work? Let's see this link. It's going to show me the big nail emoji. Nail painting emoji, rather. Okay, let's see. I don't care about linting. I don't care about syntax highlighting. I want examples. Are there examples? I'll watch these GIFs anyways. Maybe they've got some good examples. Import styled. I immediately see why people use styled components, because it works well if you have, cool, yeah, no, I can see why this works. I didn't know that it works well with preprocessors in this kind of fashion. Wow, there are so many. There are very, very many phase shifts when dealing with these different frameworks. Okay, but since we're not using CSS preprocessors rather, I think that's why CSS modules is the best way to go, because otherwise we would be redeclaring things, and I don't think you can do a global style sheet with styled components. However, I do think we should bring this in simply for the fact that we can just declare background image passing the prop right here. And potentially I think we could do this as a ternary operator. Here's which I had an example. Let's keep reading this article. Maybe there is an option. Seth, if you find, Seth, can you let me know, is styled components sounds like it should be, is it a dependency or a def dependency? It seems like a large library to bring in at one point, but I do imagine a situation where we might need, to dynamically render style sheets in the future. So maybe I won't feel too guilty about bringing it in, but it looks like, you know what, since we have Webpack, I think it should just be a dev dependency, right? It's just a dev dependency. Okay, I'm waiting for the answer. I'm reading these. Custom components. Yeah, I feel like this might be our use case. Not exactly, but like, imagine this being the whole section component, right? That's kind of how we're rendering things. Okay, and then after the fact, we could bring in an image, a background image section. And it just applies styled to, yeah. What do you guys think? Is this the best way? Does my gibberish make sense? Does that make sense? If we treat this pretty much, this line as like the section component, right? You've got all the props and stuff handled there. And then let's say, then right below section, you create a const for background image section, set its styles, and then there would be a ternary operator before the default that sets the exported section based upon the past prop of background image. So if they pass a background image, then the styled component, aka the background image section, gets passed, and if they don't pass a background image, then the regular one gets passed. Oh, downsides. I don't like hearing downsides. Oh, beauty. There, that's our exact use case. This is it. Okay, I'm pulling the trigger. What screen do you guys see? Okay. Let me take you to my terminal. I'm pretty sure that's it. Just want to make sure. I think that's it. I'm gonna try it. No! Wait. Stop. It's a dev dependency. Shit. I don't like that my shell is dying often. Holy cow, it's taking forever. Wow. This is incredible, actually. Okay. Cool, we're there. Let's do yarn add this flag is the one that I forgot because it's a dev dependency. And we're adding it. I'm going to go back to the code. And let's see, I'm not going to show you the browser, but I'm kind of copying from that screen that I just left at. So we imported styles. And we also imported class names, some class names. Let's try to copy this exactly here. Okay, I can get rid of this. I'm going to const class names. Oh, okay, I see. We should be fine with the way we've got it. Class names, and there's the list. And I'm back to looking at this example, and I confused myself again. So it looks like this situation is exactly what you'd expect from just CSS modules. So here's the import. Somebody creates an instance of the styles button. Okay. Let's see this example here in this code box. Okay, so there's styled components. Are there other files in here? Yeah, so here's their button component. They pass it as you would expect. Huh. So it looks like when you call the button component for them, you need to pass it like the actual icon that you want in there. I'd rather that we handle it conditionally within the actual component so that whenever somebody wants to make a background image section, they don't have to just call this weird thing, you know? And I think we should be able to bring this in. And honestly, at this point, at this implementation, it's just the same as it once was. So I would just rather, undo all the changes that I made instead of trying to debug through this situation. Well, I don't like it. I might concede defeat here and make an issue knowing that this should be done differently, but I don't have the JS knowledge to implement it. Morale is running low. Very low. So if I brought you back, I'll bring you guys back to the code editor. I'm going to go ahead and bring up YouTube as well. I don't know if anybody's communicating there, but I think it's probably just Seth watching, if him anymore at this point. Yeah, I might just end the stream. I think a lot of the Operation Code folk are busy. Oh, 4 watching. All right, other people are watching. Well, hi. I'll check the comments, see who's there. You guys are checking out my coding view. If you're watching. Well, hi. I'll check the comments. No. Okay, cool. You guys are both watching still. Shoot, I might concede defeat here so I can, get to like some easier stuff because this probably scares people that are interested in web development. But This issue bugs me mostly because I like to have the most extendable, readable code as possible. I'd like for people to easily be able to render a background image on a section, but I don't have the best idea of how to implement that idea. Let me go ahead and undo these changes for now. See what it looks like at the end here. One thing that I will do, actually, I'm going to redo all my changes. I don't like having it be this old way of styling things. So I think instead I can do... I'm going to run git diff in my terminal so I can see the actual syntax changes. So I'm looking at my git diff in my terminal just to see the differences so I can quickly make the changes necessary to keep the syntax of the class component in this format. And by the way, there's a pretty large audio delay. I think I tested it last night. It was like something like 15 seconds. So if I say something and you respond and you want me to say something about it, I highly suggest complete sentences referring to what I talked about. But yeah, so in this git diff, I'll just show you how's I'm looking. This is what I've got now, and this is what it was. So I want to... Oh, well, one thing that I know that I can do really quick. Well, I need to make sure that I remove styled components since we're not going to end up using it at this point. But yeah, so styled components ended up not really mattering. It seems like, I mean, maybe you could apply it within a component, but I'm scared about running into syntax errors with trying to do too much within a component file. Yeah. I'm going to tackle one battle at a time. I'm just going to undo everything that I did, including to the donation. I'm going to make issues. Once I make the issues, I know at least that I have made the correct change necessary to keep implementing the page route. So let's open up. I'm going to go back to my code editor. I just undid all the changes on section.js. Now I'm going to close that. I don't want code schools open. Don't care about contact. Nor do I care about the header, or even home for that matter. I'm going to... So we fixed the section. Oh, the other thing that I wanted to fix is donate, right. So let me go in here and undo the changes I made. I believe it was... Okay, going back to the terminal really quick, I know that I can do yarn remove styled components, because we don't need that. Wait, was it single? I'm trying to scroll up and see when I last referenced. I suppose I'll get an error. Cool, yeah. I have components, plural. All right, back to the editor. I might have to run a git diff to remember exactly what I did, but I think that we just have... Oh, I'm going to save this URL, actually. Go to the CSS file and do... Where is this inside of? Okay, well, my terminal's really slow right now, so instead I'm going to go to the repository and see if I can just glance at the repository. So I'm going to, instead of my my terminal is very, very, very slow like the rest of my computer. I mean, even just loading this website's not working out. Must have been a typo. So instead of, usually what I would do is I would just do git diff and try to figure out what changes I made to the file to revert them, because having saved the file and closed the window, I can no longer undo like a text editor. So instead, I need to see what it looked like before I fiddled with it. So back in shared and components inside the donate, let's look at the JS and the CSS, but for now I just need JS. I don't need other props. What I do need is class name styles.donate section. Cool. Now I can go back to donate the CSS file. Oh, you guys are not in the text editor. Sorry about that. So now I can do donate section. Why does this have it? Donate section background image. Now that I've saved that and I've got my server running, I'm going to bring you back to the browser. Hopefully the landing page renders properly. For some reason, one image does, but not the other. Very strange. Okay, cool. Yeah, no, we're good. Back to normal. So one thing I did at least make an improvement on is I did get rid of other props, which I think is at least is unsafe. The only other unsafe thing now that we have is people can indeed still pass, they can still unfortunately pass classes to the section component, which I'd rather not have happen, but we're not going to worry about it. Okay, so I've made this change. Now that I made a few changes, I do want to glance around and make sure the section component didn't break. It's recompiling right now. Once it does that, I will poke around the website, make sure that removing other props didn't break anything. Don't think it will. The only time that it should break things is if people, for some reason, were passing margin, but I do believe that Evan actually got rid of most of those situations. So that's good. All right. Looks good enough to me. Okay, so now let's go back to the terminal. We've made all the changes we need to make here. So let's check them out. Whew. What changes did I make to contact? Oh, right, I got rid of unnecessary references. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Now that I see all the changes, I'd like to make my version control clean for anybody that's looking. So I'm going to go and first add everything that I made to section. Oh, not just git. I need to do git add. So now if you check out git status, and you can see on my command line that I've got this plus thing, it means that I have modified things. I have changed stage for committal. So now I can do a commit. I can say, what did we really do here? We removed move spread operator and potential for undefined props. Unvalidated. And in fact, I don't think anybody cares about the spread operator. Let's make this simpler. Remove potential for unvalidated props in section. And on, I don't know if this is like a standard, but for our repository, or at least for me, when I talk about components, I've been referencing them in this manner. So hopefully when somebody sees this section inside braces, they know that I mean the section component. Okay, I've made that push. Now let's see what other changes I need to talk about. Okay. I want to see what I did inside of home. JS. I know what I did in CSS. Oh, I just moved that. Okay, sure. Okay. Git add source scenes home. Not ho. Git commit, and then, so the change that I made to home, if you remember, like hours ago, god damn it, hours ago, we added width 100% to the home containers children divs via, and I'll show you in the editor where we made that change. Let's go back to the editor, source components, where we don't want shared, we want scenes, home CSS. If you remember, we said this is going for the main class, which is like a container, and this means apply these styles to divs whose parent is the main class. And there's only one div where this is true, so this should apply to every React component from now on. That width 100% gets set. Which won't be a problem because it's just the actual component, like the container. Okay, so set component div to 100% width. Oh, I'm not showing you my command line. Cool. We have committed those changes. That's awkward. So we'll notice I only was trying to target these, and it's unfortunate that I got these as well. If you make this mistake and realize it, so I haven't made a push, now what I can do is I can do git commit -- amend, and what's going to happen is it's going to show me the commit file for the latest commit that I just pushed, and I can make some changes. I don't know if editing these lines will fix my problem, but I'm not going to try to just kind of investigate and find out. I'm pretty over this whole bug situation. I want to just put out some content that I know that I can put out for you. So let's go ahead and just edit this message to include those changes and remove conflicting styles. You'll notice that my text turns white here. I really do my best to keep my commit messages under a certain amount of character length. I believe the number is 50. I think we can potentially get there. Set I think I'm trying too hard. I think, and I'll show you one other thing about git commit messages. We'll say the main point, which is set container, and people probably aren't going to look at these logs too much, aside from when they're reviewing my merge, my pull request. So I do want to make sure that the commit message is helpful, but I don't need to try too hard to make it perfect and fit everything, because I can just go 2 lines down and add a bunch of paragraph information that doesn't break stuff. So for now, in the header of the commit message, I'll say set component set all component container divs to 100% width. And then down here, I'm going to add also remove conflicting styles from some components. So then I'm in Vim, so I do escape :X to save and close. Now we have to just add the changes that I made to donate. I can just do git add all. Convert donate component to newer React component syntax. So now I've made all the commits that I want to do. My version control is nice and clean. I'm going to do git push -u means upstream. Go ahead and ask questions about that if you'd like to. And the name of our branch, fixed section component. Cool. Git push. That's going straight to the repo. We're going to follow it there. I'm going to make a pull request. Finally. I do want to check out these notifications, just in case I'm stepping on toes or anything like that. Looks like I'm not. Uh-oh. Looks like I am. What did you change, Conrad? In the interest of avoiding Git issues, I'm going to view this file and just push the changes that he made. No, I'm not going to do that. We'll just handle the merge. That'll be a good exploratory thing. Okay, let's go make my PR. So I want to merge master with my fixed section component. I want to just kind of quickly inspect to make sure that all the changes that I'm making make sense. Didn't make any bugs or issues. See, right there. That is a problem. Good thing I caught that. Wow. Okay, so I'm inside my editor and making that change really quickly. The reason why I have that bug is, or that little random 2 in there, is because I set my hotkeys for switching windows to the numpad, which is dangerous when you're coding, but I didn't really have a better option. Okay. Fix typo. Git push. All I did was make a git add star, git commit m fix typo, and then I pushed the changes. So now, let's go ahead and refresh this. Okay. Cool. Just going to glance through because I'm glad that I checked that in the first place. I would prefer to have a semicolon here, and I'm just going to do it anyways, but it would work without a semicolon. That's in donate.css. Cool. Shared. So I'm in my code editor going to donate.css and adding that semicolon, and I'll push that change. Yeah, so it'll work if it's a one-line CSS. It's kind of like adding a comma at the end of lists. It just helps if somebody decides to add more stuff there. A lot of people's linters would actually break if you kind of tried to push that change. Okay, everything else looks good though, so I'm gonna do that. Git add, git commit, fix typo again. In fact, I can actually just do so especially in this case where I just made a commit message that said fix typo, and I added another tip. So I pushed that, so I can't actually do it. So that's a good example of why you should never push until you're done making all your reviews and changes. Had I done git commit, and I'll bring it to the terminal, even though it might be confusing. So at this point, this is when I told you guys that I made a git commit fix typo. Had I instead not pushed, I'm about to now make git commit -m fix typo again. And had I not pushed, I would just be able to do git commit -- amend, and I would literally just save and close from that screen. I wouldn't even edit anything. And what that does is it adds files to the commits rather than changing the actual commit message. So that's one little fun fact. But I've made the push, and I don't think you can do that now. So I'm just going to add another commit that says fix typo again. But now my repository is totally ready, or my branch is totally ready for being pulled. So I'm going to do a cache reset on the browser. I'm going to go ahead and create the pull request. And Seth, if you're still listening to me, are you a contributor on this repository? Are you able to review stuff? So I'm opening up. I'm fine with leaving. Okay, you're a contributor. Okay, cool. So you should be able to review this and pull it. I might go get lunch, I think. And if not, if you're not, go ahead and go to OC Projects and ask for either Conrad or you're an org member. You should be fine then. Okay. So I'm going to this to find the section issue. It's number 230. So I can say fixes number 230. And let me see if I can add you as a reviewer, Seth. Looks like I can, so you are indeed. Okay, I don't really need to add anything. Okay, so Seth's gonna hit that. I think I'm gonna go get some fast food. I'm gonna go ahead and put my stream on the fun little landing page with no music. And I'm gonna get food.